Why planes don't have cameras instead of windows. Imagine you're sitting in a metal tube at 35,000 feet, moving at 575 miles per hour, and the only thing separating you from instant death is a piece of acrylic plastic roughly the size of a paperback novel. Engineers have known for decades that this window, this small, curved, seemingly fragile oval, is one of the most structurally dangerous features on the entire aircraft. It is a hole, deliberately punched through the fuselage, weakening the very shell that keeps you alive. And yet every commercial aircraft flying today still has them. Hundreds of them, row after row of engineered vulnerability. So here's the question that aeronautical engineers have quietly entertained for years, and that airlines have started asking more loudly. Why don't we just get rid of the windows entirely? Seal the fuselage into a perfect, unbroken cylinder, and replace the view with cameras and screens? The idea sounds radical. It also sounds completely logical. And the fact that we haven't done it, despite having the technology, reveals something profound about the hidden architecture of human flight. To understand why this seemingly obvious upgrade has never happened, you have to go back to 1954, and one of the most catastrophic series of accidents in early commercial aviation history. The de Havilland Comet was the world's first commercial jet airliner. It was beautiful, fast, and British, and it represented a genuine leap forward in what passenger flight could become. But within 2 years of entering service, comets began falling out of the sky under mysterious circumstances. 3 aircraft were lost in rapid succession, with no survivors and no immediate explanation. The British government grounded the entire fleet and launched one of the most rigorous accident investigations aviation had ever seen. What investigators eventually discovered was terrifying in its simplicity. The Comet's windows were square, and square corners, it turned out, were killing people. Every time an aircraft climbs to altitude, the fuselage pressurizes. The inside fills with air at a pressure much higher than the thin atmosphere outside. This pressure difference causes the fuselage to expand slightly, like an inflating balloon. Then, when the aircraft descends and depressurizes, it contracts. This cycle, repeated on every single flight, creates what engineers call metal fatigue. And at the sharp corners of a square window, stress concentrates to an extraordinary degree. The same way a crack in a piece of paper always runs from the corner, never from the middle of a flat edge, the Comet's fuselage was cracking invisibly around its windows and eventually, catastrophically, tearing open. The entire industry absorbed this lesson and redesigned accordingly. Windows became oval. Corners became curves. The oval shape distributes stress evenly around the frame, the way an arch distributes weight in a bridge. It was one of the foundational engineering revelations of the jet age, and it is precisely why every aircraft window you have ever looked through is the same soft, rounded shape. The window itself became an engineering solution, but only after it became an engineering disaster. This history is essential context for understanding why replacing windows with cameras is harder than it sounds. The window aperture, the hole, is not just a visual portal. It is a structurally integrated component. The frame around it is reinforced, engineered to carry load, built into the bones of the fuselage. Simply sealing it shut and mounting a camera on the outside does not eliminate the engineering complexity. The structure still has to account for the absence of material, the transition in load paths, and the aerodynamic implications of any external sensor housing. A sealed fusilica is not automatically stronger than a windowed one. The engineering savings are more modest than intuition suggests. Now consider what a camera system actually requires. You need optical sensors on the outside of the aircraft, exposed to temperatures that swing from desert heat on the ground to negative 60 degrees Celsius at cruise altitude. You need those sensors to survive pressurization cycles, bird strikes, ice accumulation, and the constant mechanical vibration of a turbine engine running at thousands of rotations per minute. You need data cables running through the fuselage to individual seatback screens. You need redundant systems because a regulatory authority will never certify a single point of failure in anything passengers depend on for situational awareness. And then you need the screens themselves. High-resolution, high-brightness displays that work at all angles, don't wash out in direct sunlight, and don't fail when the aircraft is in emergency mode and electrical load is being shed. The engineering complexity cascades quickly, and airlines, which operate on margins so thin that saving a single kilogram of weight per aircraft translates into millions of dollars over a fleet's lifetime, have to weigh this complexity against the actual benefit delivered. Passengers look out the window, particularly during takeoff, landing, and when flying over interesting terrain. But surveys consistently show that a meaningful percentage of passengers close their window shades entirely, and many prefer the screen in front of them to the view beside them. The window, for many passengers, is already a feature they opt out of. The deeper economic reality is that windowless cabins have been prototyped and seriously proposed, most visibly by the Center for Process Innovation in the United Kingdom, which in 2014 published renderings of a windowless aircraft interior where the entire fuselage wall becomes a continuous panoramic display. The concept was serious engineering, not science fiction, and airlines were interested, not primarily because of the passenger experience, but because of weight. A standard commercial aircraft window assembly weighs several kilograms. Multiply that by the hundreds of windows on a wide-body jet, and you are carrying hundreds of kilograms of glass, acrylic, seals, and frames on every flight. Eliminate them, and the aircraft burns measurably less fuel over its lifetime. But certification stopped the idea cold. Aviation regulators require that passengers be able to see outside the aircraft in emergency situations, not for navigation, they are not flying the plane, but because visual awareness of external conditions, smoke, fire, orientation on the runway, matters during evacuations. Current regulations are written around the assumption of windows. Rewriting them requires years of new research, new testing standards, new definitions of what constitutes adequate situational awareness for a passenger in an emergency. No regulator has yet been willing to begin that process because the window is not just a feature. It is a safety philosophy embedded in law. There is also the human dimension, which resists purely engineering logic. Passengers in studies report significantly higher anxiety in windowless environments, even when provided with high-quality screen alternatives. The connection to the outside world, however rarely you actually look at it, functions as a psychological anchor. You know where you are. You can see the ground, you can watch the wing and know intuitively that it is still attached. Remove that, and a meaningful portion of the flying public feels entombed rather than transported. Airlines sell comfort and confidence. A windowless tube, whatever its engineering merits, sells neither. And so we arrive at the deeper lesson embedded in this seemingly simple question. Aviation is not governed by what is technically optimal in isolation. It is governed by the intersection of engineering possibility, regulatory framework, human psychology, economic pressure, and historical precedent, all simultaneously. The window is inefficient. The window is heavy. The window is a structural complication. And the window is still there because removing it requires solving not one hard problem, but 6 hard problems at once, in an industry where the consequences of being wrong are measured in lives. The Comet taught aviation that the window shape matters more than anyone imagined. The windowless aircraft debate is teaching aviation something equally subtle, that what passengers see through a window is almost beside the point. What matters is that they know the window is there. In aviation, the illusion of transparency is not a luxury, it is load-bearing.